Welcome back to Let's Talk Nudy. My name is Denise Coy, your host, and today is episode 3 of the Manifestation Guide. Now, if you haven't listened or watched my previous 2 episodes, please go watch them. We discuss the 3 pillars of manifesting, which are your habitual thought patterns, your belief system, and your actions. Now, today we're going to talk about defense mechanisms. And these are basically actions that we take in our lives and create in the external world that prevent us or make us go further from our goals in our lives due to some type of belief that we have internally. And the hardest part about defense mechanisms is that we don't notice them. We tend to act like this is normal, but little do we know, it might be something that we're just doing that prevents us from reaching our goals. Now, this is completely normal. We are human beings, okay? We are not perfect, and we are born with a couple of things that might be limiting us, our belief systems, the way that we are raised, or our habits, our thought pattern that we have casually adopted in our lives that might be preventing us from reaching our goals, right? So defense mechanisms are essentially actions that we take in our lives that don't really help us. And we tend to take these in excess. Now, all of these actions that I'm going to give you examples of are not essentially bad. It's just that we take too much of it. For example, if we eat too much, or we drink too much, or we party too much, or we're hanging out with the wrong people too much, right? So when it's something that is in excess, that is not helping us reach our goals or create the life that we want to create. I'm going to give you one example that, listen, this is not the only example that I can apply to in my life that I can remember, but this example is so perfect because it's something that I actually did not recognize myself. Someone close to me had to tell me what I was doing, and not until she was able to communicate this to me and I was able to have the open mind of listening and being like, maybe I am acting like this. Was I able to take it in, recognize it, and adjust my life accordingly? And this actually completely changed my life. It took me a complete different trajectory. So you will see how powerful these defense mechanisms are in our lives that we need to pay attention to. Okay, so when I was in law school, I became very depressed. I didn't know if that was the career that I wanted to for myself. And it was a little, it's never too late, but in my head, I was like, it's a little late to make a split decision. All my life, I wanted to be a lawyer. So I was kind of having this like quarter life crisis. And I was depressed. I was really sad. I didn't want to accept that I was sad. And little do you know, I was meditating. Okay, so it wasn't like I was giving myself time to recognize my emotions. It was something so deep in me that I just didn't want to believe. So with this sadness, externally, I started eating a lot. And if anyone knows me, I'm not someone that eats like crazy. Like I love food. I love healthy food. I love junk food, but I've never been like a huge foodie or like a sweet person or anything like that. But essentially my second year of law school, I started eating like crazy and I was obsessed with my body. So I started counting calories and I started restricting my calorie intake. And then I would have one day where I would just eat everything just because I was giving myself the day off. And it was this pattern that I created for probably a year and a half. And this kind of went along with my sadness. It kind of fed into this distraction that I created for myself to avoid actually facing what was going on in my head, which was that I was really sad. So when I was about to graduate, okay, this is like a PG show, but I'm just going to be very honest about this. I took shrooms with my friends. And it was my roommate at the time. And we were like, let's just go, let's do it. And, we're graduating, we're starting our lives, and, let's just have a day. So we go and we do this, we go to this park. And little do you know, I'm having a great time. I'm like laughing, we're like talking about our lives, and we come home and we're gonna have something to eat. And all of a sudden my friend starts crying to me. I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? She's like, I'm crying, but it's not my feelings. These are your feelings. Okay, I feel you, and I can feel how sad you are. Now, mind you, at this time, my plan was I'm going to graduate and I'm going to move to Colorado. I was living in Florida. I'm going to move to Colorado and start a life there. Mind you, my family is in South Florida. And there was a time in my life where I didn't want to face a lot of my past. And so I was like, I'm going to move as far away as possible. I'm going to go to Colorado and I'm going to start a life there. And that was my plan. I was like looking for roommates and I was, doing all of it. I was like, okay, I'm going to go spend Christmas with my family in South Florida, and then I'm just going to go to Colorado after that. So that day that we were doing shrooms, and then my friend started crying. She's like, you are really sad, and I can literally feel your sadness. How are you not expressing your sadness? And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I'm fine. And she was like, no, you're not. And she wasn't like screaming. She was just like really shaking me and trying for me to recognize that I was not feeling okay. I was not okay. She's like, wake up. Like, you are not okay. And she never told me about, me eating too much or anything like that. This was something that, in hindsight, I recognized later. But she was like, you are really sad. You are not aligning the life that you are creating with who you are. Like, this isn't you. You need to wake up. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know what you're talking about, but let me figure it out. Let me see what the hell is happening. So after that day, I took it upon myself to, figure out like, wait, am I sad? And I couldn't believe it for a long time. So I graduated, I moved back home for Christmas. So this was like November after, Thanksgiving. And my plan was to move in early January. So I was going to be home like maybe 3 weeks. And my big sister, and listen, being surrounded by angels is incredible. Being surrounded by people that love you is life-changing, and it changed my life. Because my big sister never told me straight up, hey, like, are you okay? Or she never even told me like, hey, you're making the wrong decision of moving to Colorado. But you know what she did? She was like, let's sign up for a half marathon. And I was like, what? I'm about to move in 2 weeks. Like, why do you think it's like, just move after. Just, take your exam, whatever. But like, let's do it. Let's run a half marathon. And I was like, all right, like, I'm kind of down. And so me and my sister started training. I was living with my parents, like those 2 weeks. And I was having such a great time. Like, I was really enjoying myself. I was releasing so much emotion. And I'm someone that, yes, I process my emotions, obviously, like I'm a Cancer. But I like to process my emotions physically, like with my workouts. And I realized that running was really releasing a lot of my emotions. And it was helping me feel better. And I was actually making it work. And I was facing my problems. I started reading Glennon Doyle, and it was just so much that was releasing off my body. And one day I was like, I'm having such a great time. Like, why am I moving somewhere so far away and not enjoying where I am? Like, I'm having such a great time right now. Let's just take the Florida bar instead of the Colorado bar, and we'll just see where we go. So I switched my my Colorado bar to Florida bar. And I did the half marathon, I took my exam, and I started my life here. It is amazing and an amazing experience, because 2 months after that, I met my husband. And we, ever since, that was 5 years ago, we ever since have been truly, absolutely squeezing the joy of life. And it's been amazing, and I never could have imagined ending it up somewhere completely different than what my life looks like right now. And I've been working on all of the things that I wanted to create. Everything is aligned, not everything right now, but At the time I was aligning to who I was, and it's such a beautiful journey. And what I'm saying with this situation is that it took me 2 years to recognize this defense mechanism that I was creating externally in my life. Obviously, like, I stopped eating the way that I was eating, and I stopped caring so much about what I looked like externally because I was so focused on that, trying to ignore my actual reason for feeling this way. Mind you, it's not a bad thing to worry about what you look like externally. It's not. It just wasn't who I was, at least not at the time. I genuinely didn't really mind it. Like, all I wanted was to be healthy. It was something that just wasn't aligned with me. And it took me 2 people in my life that cared about me to help me recognize what was wrong with me, help me face my problems, and adjust my life accordingly. It wasn't just me. So I'm very grateful that I had these people in my life. But it comes to show how powerful a defense mechanism that you have in your life will affect all of your life, literally all of it. And sometimes you will be thrown angels in your life that will help you adjust your life accordingly. But sometimes you have to pick yourself up, because ever since my 2 people helped me recognize this, it was a journey of myself. It was my work that I needed to put in. There was no one else. They helped me turn on this light bulb in my head. But all of the work after that, it was all me. I needed to work on my self-love. I needed to align myself, my mindset, to who I was. I needed to figure out my habitual thought patterns that were not helping me align the life that I wanted to live. I needed to go into my belief system and say, do I deserve this? And say, why am I not thinking the way that I need to think? Why? What is it about something that might have happened years ago blocking me from living the life that I want to live? And I just kept digging and digging and digging. And I did the work. I got a life coach. I did so much to figure out my emotional life in order to align my physical life with the life that I wanted to live. And mind you, it was a journey, and it will be a journey. It will be a beautiful journey, because up until today, I'm still working on defining myself. And mind you, once you find yourself, maybe you want something else, because nothing is permanent. Everything is constantly changing, and that includes you. But your life, it's all about, how can I be the best version of myself? The podcast is all about, how can we recognize the things that we need to change or adjust to create the life that you want to create? How can we be so obsessed with our potential that we will squeeze the shit out of life to get everything we want out of this life and enjoy every step of the way? That's why we're here. And I guess that's where I want to close out. This is episode 3 of the Manifestation Guide, and we will continue so much in discussing manifesting and discussing limited beliefs and discussing habitual thought patterns. And this is what the podcast is all about, is to help this community reach its highest potential. Let's make it happen. Love you guys.